The Boston Celtics live to see another day and another series. Up next, the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm Sierra Goodwill, here with Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavon, and Bobby Manning. I feel like I manifested this tonight in my Miami Heat colors. I guess it was kind of Toronto.
Hey,
oh,
there you go.
Ready for some
both ways, right?
Right, so let's talk about, we know we just wrapped up Game 7, a huge win for the Celtics, but it's time to flip the script right away. Your initial impressions of this matchup with the Heat. Bobby, we'll start with you.
It's going to be hard. I don't think any of us are going to disagree about that. This team's better than the Raptors. They have more talent. They have more depth. And they do a lot of the same things that the Raptors do defensively better. But fortunately for the Celtics, they're also more of a transition team than a half-court team offensively. So it's a good matchup for the Celtics defense, too. The biggest difference, though, Bam Adebayo. You go from Marc Gasol, who did nothing in the series, to maybe the best center in the NBA if he keeps progressing the way he is. That's a steep, steep difference, and he's going to be hard to contend with.
Yeah, no question. Best center that the Celtics are going to see by a mile. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, put it this way. In the pick-and-roll set, which I think is something that the Miami Heat can defend really well, I think Bam is a big difference compared to Joel Embiid and compared to what we saw with Marc Gasol. Whether you're putting him out there on an island or whether he's on a switch, he can guard very. He's much more different. He's an upgrade than Marc Gasol for sure. So that's a big thing that's in Miami's favor. But yeah, to Bobby's point, I think the transition defense that we saw throughout the series, I think that goes a long way with the Miami Heat. They like to get out and an open floor, and of course they have shooters. I mean, when these guys get going, it can be a really long night. When Duncan Robinson gets going, like if for guys who aren't like for casual NBA fans, if you're not hip to Duncan Robinson, like check out his YouTube page, like check out his highlights from throughout the season because he's had one hell of a season and he has that sort of same Van Fleet-ish story, right? G League, really had to work his way up the ranks to the NBA. He got a spot on this team and he's just one of 4 or 5 consistent three-point shooters, would you say, Bobby? Somewhere to that effect.
I think this season he was the best shooter in the NBA. Right?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, those are the two things that I'm looking at the most. Transition defense and the pick-and-roll defense for Miami and how much Bam's going to play a part in the series.
You guys spent all that time talking. You never once even mentioned 2 words. Jimmy
because his
Butler.
name is Jimmy? Because his name is Jimmy
Butler.
Jim Butler.
How you just spent all that time flapping your gums and not one of you is going to mention Jimmy Butler. And this guy's the heart and soul of the Heat. He's the reason the Heat are where they are. He's almost he is the identity of the Heat, right? I mean, he's that tough, hard-nosed player, a guy that teams didn't, for one reason or another, he hasn't lasted on the teams that he was on prior, and he's found a home here in Miami. He's that hard-nosed defender that guys don't want to play up against. It's one of those guys where you step on the court. You guys remember, or maybe you don't, Josue, because you probably didn't play much growing up. But you walk out on the court. You walk around the court and you say, this guy's going to defend me today. Like, this is going to be a long game, man. And, he's that guy. So, for me, it's putting him in check. And I think Celtics fans are going to be – he's going to be enemy number 1 for a lot of Celtics fans because they're going to be like, wow, this guy is tough as nails. So, for me, it's getting him in check early on, setting the tone. And I think he's the head of the snake, obviously.
You know what, Jimmy? This is Nick Nurse and Brad Stevens' fault, okay? Like Jimmy, Bobby and I, we're talking about like defensive sets.
I know.
We've been living in Brad Stevens and freaking Nick Nurse's head the last week and a half. So we're talking about. Obviously Jimmy's a big part here in this game, but we'll get to it.
But also, the other thing we haven't mentioned is I think the Heat's depth is another problem that the Celtics are going into because the Celtics, if you watch Game 7 or most of the series, the bench wasn't exactly a consistent factor in that series for the Celtics.
Well, we're going to have plenty of more days now leading up to the game to get deeper into this preview of the matchup. Game 1 is not until Tuesday, but just really quickly, guys, one player that you think could be the difference maker for the Celtics. We said it was going to be Marcus Smart in the heavyweight battle against the Raptors. Does anyone stick out to you in this matchup?
Got to go Smart again because there's going to be one guy on the Heat who's a weaker defender, whether it's Hero, whether it's Dragic. Like they're going to have a weaker guard probably isolated on him, and that's an advantage for Smart to shoot, to get into the lane, to make plays. He's always going to be that fifth guy on the Celtics who doesn't draw the attention of the others. He's going to be the Hayward in rotation who needs to shoot the threes off the catch. It's going to be him again, and he came out and won this Raptors series, so more credit to him. I think he could do it again here against the Heat.
I'm going Jaylen Brown by a mile here.
Oh,
man,
that's my answer.
Head games. We're talking about Jay Crowder. We're talking about Jimmy Butler. Man, this guy was like Jay's understudy growing up. So it's like, oh,
he'll
hey,
probably cover Butler.
welcome to the big league. Yeah, but on switches, like whether it's just talking trash or getting caught on switches or whatever. Like this team is tough. Like they're physical. And one thing I don't know, guys. I don't want to call Jaylen vulnerable mentally, but some parts of the series I was a little timid in thinking that he could actually, convert big shots down the stretch, because I thought that he was a little trigger happy, of course, in Game 6 and a little bit in Game 7. So we'll see how much he gets into his own feelings, I guess, through this one, with, playing against some tough defenders.
I was obviously going to say Jalen, so good answer. I'm going to go very out of the box with this next one. I'm going to say close. What about Gordon Hayward? What if Gordon Hayward can get into this series? Now, talk about X factor. I mean, to me, that's a guy who can totally switch things up.
It's a question of the series now, yeah.
You got some
definitely.
offense. You got some more offense coming off the bench.
I think if
That's
the
all I'll say
Celtics
about
start
that.
this series well, I don't know if they even play with putting Gordon Hayward into this series. I mean, it all depends on how.
Talk about gentlemen sweep.
I'm going with Kemba Walker. He got away with some mediocre offensive performances in this series. And I don't think it's going to fly against the Miami Heat in a much more high-powered offense than the Toronto Raptors. So we'll see if Kemba can also turn up that gear into superstar status as well as what we're looking for out of Jason Tatum. But for all of our Celtics playoff coverage, find it on our website at clnsmedia.com and on our YouTube channel at Celtics All Access.